Hey, board gamers, BJ from Board Game Gumbo here, back with episode 25 of Gumbo Live. Board Game Gumbo Live is the #1 Facebook Live talk show dedicated to board gaming. Nolan, that's because we're the only Facebook Live talk show dedicated to board gaming. But you know what? We're going to hold on to that mantle as long as we can, Nolan. My special guest tonight, Nolan Nasser of Deepwater Games. You heard his voice there. We're going to talk art. We're going to talk some gaming. We're going to talk conventions and what it's like to move across the country and start a brand new board game company at the same time. It sounds like a brilliant idea, right? Gumbo Live is a proud member of Punchboard Media. Hey, check out some of the other Punchboard Media stuff if you get a chance this week. Open Seed Gaming, Marty and Sarah and Scott talk about Alien Artifacts, a game from Portal Games, Ignacy Trevicek. It's a game I got to play. Let's see what they think about it as compared to what you guys think about Alien Artifacts. Punchboard Media, where we all bring something to the table. Just a couple of quick show notes. Hit us up on social media tonight, on Twitter at Board Game Gumbo, on Facebook at facebook.com/Board Game Gumbo. But enough blather because my voice is already running out, Nolan. Let's get to our guest, Nolan Nasser of Deepwater Games, artist extraordinaire. Man, I really appreciate you coming in. Welcome to the show.
I really appreciate you having me, DJ. Thank you so much, man.
Nolan, I can't believe somebody would be watching this show and hasn't heard of Nolan Nasser because you're a fantastic artist. As you can see, I got some of your games up here. But just in case, give us the elevator pitch. Who is Nolan Nasser and what is Deepwater Games?
Nolan Nasser, as I normally refer to myself in the third person. No,
right.
I'm an illustrator by trade, I guess. Actually, not even by a really big board gamer, so hanging out at my local game store every day. I eventually got put in touch with some gaming companies and ended up doing some work for them in the industry, and that just like kind of snowballed. And I've been working in the industry for about 4 years now as an illustrator. And earlier this year, I decided to quit freelance illustration because I wanted to pursue my own stuff and pursue some of my own creative endeavors. And one of those things was starting my own publishing company. And that's how Deepwater kind of came into inception.
Yeah, and one of those game companies before Deepwater, of course, when you're still doing freelance, was Greater Than Games.
Yes.
Our buddy Chris Kirkman. What's it like working for a company like Greater Than Games? Dice Hate Me.
So I feel like I should probably use this opportunity to make jokes about them or something, but I really can't because they are seriously one of the best companies that I've worked for. I've done a fair amount of freelancing in the game industry, but Greater Than Games set the bar so high that I like rarely ever had to look for other work or anything like that because it was just like they paid well, they treated me well, they were just like on point with everything. They really set a really high standard for what freelancing should be like. And I'm just, ecstatic that I had that opportunity to work with them.
They're prolific on social media, and Chris has an awesome podcast. It's good to hear that the persona that we see in public is the same as the company behind with all those guys, right?
100% the same. It's really great. And honestly, huge inspiration for me, for Deepwater and for me in general.
Board Game Gumbo Live here. BJ from Board Game Gumbo handling the episode here, number 25 with Nolan Nasser of Deepwater Games, artist extraordinaire. Hey, the first time I got to meet you was at PAX South 2017, right?
Yeah.
PAX South, a convention known more for tabletop, more for electronic type gaming, but bringing that tabletop presence. And then all of a sudden opened up, which Matt Morgan had announced at PAX South, opened up PAX Tabletop Unplugged over there in Philadelphia. I think you went to it. Is that right?
I did not. Oh, yeah, I went to PAX Unplugged. Yes.
Yeah, PAX Unplugged.
Announcement at PAX South, but no, yeah, I went to PAX Unplugged.
So compare the two, PAX South 2017 versus PAX Unplugged 2017. What'd you think?
I mean, okay, so when you picture a gaming convention, like you picture like E3 or something like that, right? Or PAX, right? PAX, you have all these gigantic booths and there's like massive amounts of screens and like huge displays and people screaming, hooting and hollering, and there's like esports competitions going on and the energy levels like just super high and it's super fun. And so PAX Unplugged was nothing like that. PAX Unplugged was a bunch of board gamers, like a bunch of board game companies, and even though like some of them had really awesome displays, like it doesn't compare to the production value that like Sony or Microsoft can put into a
Nintendo.
So it was still great. The convention was still fantastic. I enjoyed it a lot. I liked it better than PAX South, but that's just because it was
what?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
because it came to board games and tabletop games. So all of my people were there. Like, you know, it was good.
Okay, so take me through PAX Unplugged. If I know that with Deepwater Games, and we're going to talk about Deepwater Games in a little bit, but I know you're planning to go, or at least your company's planning to go back to PAX Unplugged, right? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
But not from a company standpoint, from, you know, Nolan Nasser, the game player, PAX Unplugged, would you go back?
Absolutely. Like, so, I mean, to preface this, like, my favorite convention has always been Gen Con, and that's because I started going to Gen Con when I was like 17, I think. I was 17 years old when I went to my first Gen Con, and it just like blew me away. And so forever, like, gaming conventions have been, that has been like, it's been my home, right? So like PAX Unplugged just being another like almost miniature Gen Con, kind of similar in size and style to Origins, I would go back to it in a heartbeat. Like it was just fantastic. I mean, any time that you can just like gather thousands of gamers and have, you know, publishers and like and the artists and things like that in the same building is just it's definitely going to be an experience. I don't think anything will compare to Gen Con, but
well, that leads to my next question. Look, my Twitter feed and my Facebook feed have been inundated with rankings of Star Wars movies for the last 5 days.
Amazing.
It's been nonstop. Everybody ranking all the numbers. It looks like they're trying to figure out what pi is. You know,
right? Yes,
they're doing all the numbers. So just tell me how would you rate the conventions this year in terms from a company standpoint and from a personal standpoint?
Now, I thought you were about to put me on the spot and ask me to rate Last Jedi. I was like, oh man.
I can do that if you want, but let's not. You know, there's still people who haven't seen the show, so let's not break their habit. I tried to stay away from all the stuff before I watched the show. But back to conventions. You know, how do you rate them this year? What was your best experiences from a consumer side, from a game player side?
As far as gaming conventions goes, like I didn't make it out to BGG Con, but I plan to next year. But probably like still nothing beats Gen Con. Like Gen Con's up there in like a high tier of conventions. It's my favorite convention of the year. This year was my first year exhibiting it. I've been attending it for like 8 or 9 years now, and this is my first year exhibiting at it, and it was just spectacular. Still, even being on the other side of the booth, it was great, and it was just like so much to do. I met actually literally one of my best friends and my roommate who I moved to Texas with, which we'll talk about later. I met him at Gen Con, so I mean, it's like it's up there for me as like just one of the best conventions. But yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, you were actually pretty close to me. I was at Fireside booth all week and Fireside Games, and you were in Artist Alley just a little bit behind me to the right.
Right.
It was quieter than the rest of the convention, but there was still tons of foot traffic through Artist Alley. You just didn't have people demoing games and testing things, so it was a little quieter and a little bit more subdued. But I was impressed with how many people were walking through that Artist Alley. What was it like being an artist?
It was excellent. Like, yeah, the area was definitely quieter. Like you could usually like cut a path through it rather than just like being shoulder to shoulder shuffling through the rest of the convention. But it was fantastic. I mean, as far as like sales go, as being in the art show at Gen Con, my sales, it was one of my best shows in sales of the year. Wow. And that was with a 6-foot table, which I usually have like a 10 by 20 booth when I go to Comic Cons. So even like having a small space in the art show was magnificent. It was great. The foot traffic was fantastic, even though it was like obviously quieter than the rest of Gen Con. And just like so many people there who just like loved, you know, games and wanted to, and just like honestly, most of the people who came up to my booth had no idea I did artwork for games. They had probably not even heard of Spirit Island or Fate of the Elder Gods or New Bedford. But when they found out that I did art for games, they were so excited that like an artist for games was there. And I don't know. I thought that was great. Like it was really great to be able to connect with people like that. Because I know I experienced that for like 7 years going to Gen Con. I would be like, oh my gosh, you're this artist who did this for this game. I love that. So it was really cool to experience that.
You know, we think of board gaming, at least when you get into the hobby, you think of it like every other thing where it's, you know, these big giant corporations, they're faceless. And then you start to go to these conventions and you realize that some of these games that are put out are a couple of people, a guy and his wife, 2 ladies who have an idea, 3 buddies from college who decided, hey, I don't want to take a traditional path. I'm going to start a board game company. And it's so refreshing to shake their hands and meet these people and realize, wow, they're geeks just like us.
Exactly. Yeah.
Speaking of art, I think I've got some of your art right here. Isn't that right?
Yeah. As some of my art from Fate of the Elder Gods.
So this is Fate of the Elder Gods. Anybody that hadn't seen Nolan's penchant for just amazing dramatic scenery, and look at all this. The snow is appropriate for today. You can't see it, but actually Be Live has let me put snow in our broadcast too. I don't know if you can see that, but
oh really?
Yeah, the snow's getting heavier. And then there's another one. That's Ithaca, right? Isn't that right?
Yep.
Yep. And then I think, is this you also?
Yeah, that's Nyarlathotep or Nyarlathotep.
Yeah, you're doing better than I am. That's for sure. I can pronounce that. I was telling you before the broadcast, it reminds me of an Asia rock band cover from Roger Dean. This is, and you said you've never seen an Asia cover.
I mean, I probably have. I am absolutely terrible when it comes to like pop culture and media and stuff like that. Yeah.
Awesome job on that. So Gen Con sounds like number one. Yep. PAX Unplugged is up there somewhere.
So I would probably put Origins right on Gen Con. I had an equally good time at Origins, and it was great because it wasn't as crowded. But at the same time, there wasn't as much going on, right? Like you just get that trade-off.
Hanging out with BJ at PAX South 2017 would be number 3.
You know what? Actually, I was going to put that above Gen Con, but I was going to surprise you. I was going to surprise you with that ranking, but
sure, touche.
No, actually, honestly though, like meeting you at PAX South, like that was one of the highlights. Like meeting people like that at conventions is pretty much like the highlight of the show for me. Is like we had been interacting on Twitter, and it was like, oh hey, here you are in the flesh, and we get to actually interact as humans, and we are not just like networking because we're both in the same industry. We're networking because we have the same interests, and we are friends. Like that's my favorite part about this industry and convention.
That is what's cool.
PAX Unplugged, it was great. It was probably lower than Origins for me.
All right. So you mentioned a little earlier, when I saw you at PAX South, you were living in Michigan. You were working as an artist, freelancing. Now things have changed for you. Yes. What's the big news in your life?
So, yeah, after Origins, I decided that I was going to quit freelancing and that I was also going to move to Texas. I figured I wanted to, at the time, just like focus on some of my own creative endeavors, and one of which was, starting a company, like I said. And then I decided to also, one of my friends was moving to Texas, and I have family in Texas. So I was like, screw it, I will move to Texas with you. I was just sick of the snow, actually, speaking of.
Not bad.
No, and,
that you won't see too much in central East Texas.
No.
Or the hill country, actually, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Hey, BJ from Board Game Gumbo here on Gumbo Live. I've got episode 25 with Nolan Nasser, artist, and who started the new company Deepwater Games that we're going to be getting to in just a second. But I want to check in. Steve O'Rourke, the name father from the Dukes of Dice, late to the party, but he's here now. Hello, BJ and Nolan.
Hey, Stephen.
So Stephen may have some questions for you later on, Nolan, as we go through the thing. So we were talking about, before the broadcast, we were talking about some of your recent plays and maybe even the best game you've played since Gen Con. What's been the best thing you've done?
Ooh, okay. So this was a really tough question for me. I think I have to say that the best game I've played since Gen Con was Spirit Island, which came out of Gen Con. And the reason is I played a lot of games since Gen Con, but the reason I say Spirit Island is because I've probably played it the most since Gen Con.
Okay.
And I'm a little bit biased because I did a lot of the artwork in it. But it truly is I think the perfect cooperative game. I played through Pandemic Legacy Season 1, which I was like, no co-op experience is ever going to beat this because of the legacy aspects. And then Spirit Island came out, and I'm like, nope, this is better. This is way better.
Hey, before we get to what I think about Spirit Island, Dr. Steve Finn from Dr. Finn's Games checking in.
Oh,
hey, BJ. He says, funny, I just received an email from Nolan moments ago.
Yes, and I believe was he on the show last week?
He sure was. Yeah, we had a great time talking about. He is, according to Rado, he's the king of the fillers, and let me tell you what, he brought the heat, man. He brought fillers. Steve and I knew fillers we played before, and fillers we never even heard of. So
that's fantastic.
I was impressed with Steve. I'd like to see Dr. Steve Finn's collection because he's probably got a great collection of gateway games and filler games. But back to Spirit Island. So you did some of the artwork in Spirit Island. What would I recognize? Because I have played the game.
I did a few of the spirits. I did like the wildfire spirit, Heart of the Wildfire.
Okay.
I did the shadows flicker like flames. River surges in sunlight. The river spirit. I don't know if you recognize that one.
Yeah, sure.
It's filled with fillers. That's great.
Steve.
So river surges. That is that was actually the first piece of artwork I ever did for a board game. I actually started working, even though Spirit Island just just came out. And
I didn't know that.
I actually started working on it in 2013.
I assumed the awesome stuff you did for New Bedford and its expansion was the first stuff you did for Greater Than Games.
No, that came like a year after I started working on Spirit Island. Yeah, I
know that.
Yeah, we had Spirit Island in development for a while.
And look, I'm not downing Spirit Island. I need to play it again. I don't think anytime you play a game one time, if you had a bad experience, I'm a firm believer that it could be the way the game group was interacting that night or the unfamiliarity with the rules. So I got to play Spirit Island again because for me, it was a little long and it seemed almost like the game was playing itself instead of us playing it. And everyone else that I've talked to about Spirit Island has an opposite reaction. So obviously, I'm going to blame it on the players, not the game.
You know what's funny, BJ, is that I actually kind of shared your same feelings the first time I played it. It was way too long, and I was just like, oh man, I'm slogging through this. And then the second time I sat down to play it, I just like everything clicked, and I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. Like it's fantastic.
I will say I do like the fact that every single player has a unique power, and not only that, and it's not. I mean, lots of games have unique powers. It's unique in the way that you develop your power to defend against the colonists, I think is basically. Yeah. And so I got to admit, that was really cool. It just took me a while to learn it. Maybe it's like Vast, where the first time you play it, it kind of blows your mind a little bit. And then the second time you play it, even if you're playing a different character, you're comfortable with the mechanics of the game. And so you can kind of let it flow a little bit.
Right. Absolutely.
So verdict from Nolan Nasser is I should try it again.
Yes, you should absolutely try it again.
All right, that's good.
I would suggest keep trying it until you play with every single spirit I did artwork for and every single card I did artwork for.
Okay, yeah. And then I'll see my wife in a couple of months. So yeah, it's a great game. It's a great. I'll tell you one thing. It looks great on the table. It really looks good on the table. It's a cool looking game. All right, so BJ from Board Game Gumbo Live episode 25. I have Nolan Nasser. We're going to talk a little bit about his brand new company. Before we get to that, Steve O'Rourke's got a comic, New Bedford and New Bedford Rising Tide, on the road and headed to my house on BJ's recommendation. Hey, I sold a game for you, Nolan.
That's amazing.
Look forward to them arriving. Look, I absolutely. It's no secret if you go on Twitter, anybody knows that I love New Bedford, and I do think the expansion is essential, almost to the part where it almost should be part of the game. Yep. Not for the 5-player part, just for the fact that I've got a big giant Ziploc bag full of tiles that changes the game every time I play it. So
every single time, I agree wholeheartedly about that.
I absolutely love New Bedford. I love the town building mashed in with the worker placement and all of it. I mean, now I can get the games down into less than an hour, roughly. 45 minutes sometimes if you're playing with people. So a worker placement game with town building and all this other stuff, all in less than an hour. It's an awesome game. So but let's get to your company. Deepwater Games. I am absolutely intrigued because I got to play with Matthew Ward, Grumpy Matt, we call him, Hannah Makoji, a tight little 2-player game from a company called Emperor S4 that I'd never heard of. And I was blown out of the water that this little tiny box game had, and it wasn't a lot of cards, and it had so much going for it. So tell me, what's Deepwater Games and why should we be looking out for this in 2018?
Well, I definitely want to say, like, if you were impressed by the depth of gameplay in Hana Makoji, I mean, just wait to see what else is coming from Emperor S4, because they have some. I mean, that's really their kind of their shtick is really fantastic games in tiny boxes. I have some behind me over here. But what is Deepwater Games, and what can you expect from us? That is. So we are a publishing and international distribution company. What our goal is to we've formed an immediate partnership with Emperor S4. We're bringing over 4 of their titles right now, and we have more planned for later in the year. And we are going to be we're going to be updating them for the American market. And then on top of that, we are also going to be partnering with US companies to localize their games in Mandarin and take them over to Asia, with Emperor S4 being kind of like our partner for distribution there. So that's the immediate goal, but we also have a lot of other plans too. Like we're currently developing in-house designs and IPs that we're gonna kind of make our own line of games for Deepwater. As well as beyond that, we are actually partnering with other media companies. Like right now, we have a partnership with a comic book publishing company called SourcePoint Press. The owner of that is actually one of the partners who co-founded Deepwater Games, but he owns a lot of IP from comic books, and we're going to be partnering with them to develop that IP into board games. And then those board games are going to be, built for the U.S. market, for the Asian market, and we're really ultimately what we want to do is just like spread IP development, spread board games, like, take these hard to find games that are fantastic. Emperor S4's games are so good and they're so hard to get your hands on. Sure. So we want to bring those here. We want to do the same for the Asian market and bring games there. And then we also, we have our sights set on possibly the Middle East as well for distribution, because I've got, family and contacts over there, and there's a market over there that is just, there's absolutely nothing, no distribution or anything over there. So.
Yeah, I was jealous, man. You were posting photos this summer, I think, of your trip to Lebanon.
Yep. Earlier, towards the beginning of spring, I went.
And I think actually, if I remember, it's been a while since you posted those on Twitter, but if I remember right, you actually did a little gaming over there in Lebanon.
I did. Oh man, that was a huge highlight for me. So while I was over there, I made it a goal to just like see what the board game culture was like over there. And in Lebanon, particularly, there's not a ton of board games. They definitely follow pretty far behind the Western trends and stuff like that. But there was one massive board game store, and I was shocked. And it just opened up this year, and it was huge. It was actually, like, honestly, better than most board game stores I've been to in the States.
Really?
And I've been to a lot.
So if you get in there quickly enough, Deepwater could be the Asmodee of Lebanon when you think about it, right?
I would love to say that we could, but I feel like Asmodee will probably end up being the Asmodee of the Middle East.
Steve Finn has a question for you. Doc says, when he says partnering with U.S. publishers, do you mean that you're going to license the games or something else?
A combination of things. I mean, we're talking to some companies about licensing deals where we would just, take the game, make it as strong as we could for the Asian market, and distribute it over there, and obviously, pay for licensing deals to the U.S. companies. But we're also talking about just doing private label stuff too, whatever works better for the company. We've talked about doing private label with certain companies where we'll just buy the games from them and we'll just handle the translation. We won't change anything about like the graphics or anything like that, and just handle the translation and then produce it in Taiwan and distribute it throughout Taiwan and other regions.
Yeah, to recap, Emperor S4 is out of Taiwan, isn't that right?
Yes, Emperor S4 is out of Taiwan. Yeah, I should have mentioned that. So they're out of Taiwan. So it's really interesting because Taiwan is a very, very tiny country. It's like the size of Massachusetts, or not. It's larger than Massachusetts, but I think, anyways, I don't know. But it has a massive board game market, like huge board game market. For it being such a small place, it has like almost 500 board game stores in the country. Which, I mean, if you think in comparison, like the U.S. has about 5,000 board game stores. And so Taiwan having a 10th of the amount of stores that the U.S. has, for it being like maybe 1/50th of the size.
Yeah, that's
a lot of people, like a huge market for games in that area.
That is impressive. So, hey, you were talking about changing some of the graphics on some of the games if you just buy it outright. That brings up a question Steve O'Rourke has. Wow, the visuals on those Emperor S4 games are remarkable. If you're bringing them over, how much of the original look will remain? And you and I talked about this before the broadcast.
Yep, all of it. All of their art is going to remain the same. Like as an artist and as the creative director for Greater Than Games, I think it is absolutely stunning artwork, and it's part of the thing that sells me on their games.
For Deepwater Games.
For Deepwater, for Emperor S. I'm the creative director for Deepwater, but for Emperor S4, their art.
You said Greater Than Games. I think you meant Deepwater Games.
Did I say Greater Than Games? I meant Deepwater Games. I'm sorry. Yes.
Yeah, you can help that.
Yes. So, the art that Emperor S4 does is the art they have on their games is just absolutely incredible. And they are, and we won't be changing any of the artwork unless it's just like a cultural thing that needs to be changed, which we have run into a couple of those issues. But anyways, their artwork is stunning. It's all going to remain the same. The only thing we're going to be really doing that is like we'll probably be taking the Mandarin, or not probably, we already are taking the Mandarin characters off just because it's more appealing to the U.S. market without foreign language on it. But other than that, yeah, no, I mean, we're not doing much. We do have some plans in the future for some of the titles that we're looking at to make them colorblind friendly. So we'll be doing little things like that to just increase the quality of the game, but we are like not planning on changing any of the visuals.
Yep, and Steve O'Rourke says, excellent answer, Nolan, respect for the maker. As an artist, as you said, that's something that you would want to be respected. Absolutely. Also, right?
Yeah.
So that is fantastic. So I'm assuming that Deepwater Games is kind of hitting the ground running. I mean, you already have a T-shirt.
I do already have a T-shirt. I don't know if you can see that on camera, but
we can see it on camera. And I'm curious, but I have a question about what you guys are going to be doing in 2018. But tell me about the logo. What's going on in the logo?
That's a great question. And usually everybody at least either avoids that question or it's always one of their questions.
Yeah. Okay.
So the logo is it's called the Antikythera mechanism. It is this sunken artifact that was found at the bottom of the ocean that dates back to sometime possibly like 200 BC. The interesting thing about it is that this artifact, for the time that it was made, was super advanced. Basically, what it did was it tracked stars, it tracked eclipses. It was a super advanced piece of technology that nobody expected to be able for I believe it was the Greeks that had invented it. Nobody expected anybody at that time to have this sort of technology. So it's just super cool. It's just really it's innovative. The mechanism is innovative, and it is intricate, and it's very deep and rare as well. So it kind of we thought it was like a really cool fit for our like kind of what we're doing as a company. It made sense.
Very apropos. Now, I did hear you talk on the Cubist about the philosophy behind Deepwater Games. I don't remember what you guys said, but I thought it was an interesting, unique take on board gaming for this industry. What do you consider Deepwater Games' philosophy?
So my biggest thing, as somebody who's been an artist in the industry, who's been a gamer for most of his life, tabletop gamer. I mean, Magic is what got me into games when I was like 12 years old. As somebody who's been a gamer, and as somebody who's worked in the industry, my favorite thing about this is how board games bring people together on a physical level. Like video games are great, but you're not face to face with people. Board games bring people together. And so the more that we can push that, the more that we can bring people together with board games, the more we want to do. And we don't want to just like stop in the US. We want to be able to spread that kind of that philosophy, that message, like all over the globe. So that's why we really want to get involved in all sorts of other regions. And so like board gaming it's not just a European thing. It's not just an American thing. It is something that every culture has done for, since the inception of board games, right? Every culture has their own board games. And so it's something we want to foster all over the globe rather than just like in our home country.
The 4 games that you're bringing, though, are kind of typical of that Taiwan market where, I heard on a recent show where they talked about how they do a lot of smaller box games. Yeah. And the 4 games that you guys are coming out with look like, at least from the pictures, smaller box games. Is that going to be a philosophy for Deepwater Games? Smaller packages with big games in them?
Definitely. So it's definitely part of our philosophy. We want to keep the games a little bit lighter, but that doesn't exclude us having a lot of depth or a lot of strategy involved in them. I really love games that come in small boxes that have a lot of replayability, that have a lot of theme, that have a lot of depth to them, even though they come in small boxes. That's one of my favorite types of games. So we definitely want to keep that same philosophy in our games. That we develop and that we bring over, because not only that, but they do well in Asia and they do well in the US. So we want to just keep that going.
BJ from Board Game Gumbo here, Gumbo Live. I've got Nolan Nasser of Deepwater Games here to talk about his lineup for 2018. Nolan, you've already, like I said earlier, you guys are hitting the ground running and you've got some games ready to go for this American market. Tell us about the first game that you guys are looking at bringing out.
So the first game, like the main game that we're kind of featuring, because we are actually going to be releasing all 4 of our games simultaneously, the first 4 games simultaneously. But the main game that we're featuring is Herbalism. It is a memory and deduction game, and players are playing as pharmacists who are trying to. There's a pandemic that is sweeping the country, and players have to exchange cards and trade secrets and trade information in order to find out what ingredients are going to cure the pandemic. And so it's you have to kind of work cooperatively, but in the end, it's whoever gets that cure first is the winner.
How many players does it play?
It plays 3 to 4 players.
3 to 4 players.
Yep.
About an hour, less than an hour. What are we looking at?
Yeah, I mean, games can take 10 minutes. And the nice thing is there's a scoring system, so you can play multiple rounds and play to a final score, which is the game ends at 7. Whoever gets the 7 points first, or you can just sit down and play one round. It's super quick to set up, and so you can just like sit down at a coffee shop and play a couple rounds of it, and not necessarily keep track of score.
So it's a great lunchtime office game or board game cafe type game.
Yes. That's exactly. I might steal that from you if you don't mind.
BJ from Board Game Gumbo says blah blah blah. So, but I have seen the game on Twitter. I mean, I've seen it out in the wild. So, is it something that Emperor S4 has had limited distribution here, or is that just people that are familiar with the Taiwanese market or the Asian game market and are able to bring these games over?
So there's a couple retailers in the U.S. that love to pick up Emperor S4's games and bring them over. I think like Funnigan Games is one of them, and there's a couple more that I can't think of off the top of my head, but they usually have them. And then again, anybody who goes to Essen or goes to other gaming conventions overseas, like we'll definitely see, like Tokyo Game Fair, Emperor S4 was at. Okay.
Have they ever been to Gen Con? I don't think so. Huh?
So one of the owners was actually at Gen Con this year, but not as a company. He was just there. He was there with my other two partners in the company. They were just walking the floor and scoping things out.
Well, look, I can tell you, going from a small lure convention like PAX South or my local convention to Gen Con a couple of years ago, that first year I really felt like I was drinking from a fire hydrant. I mean, there's just so much information.
Oh my gosh!
I wonder what he thought of this big giant board game convention.
Oh my gosh, I definitely think he was like a little overwhelmed, but also like very much at home. I don't know if it was his first time being there or not. Okay. I'll ask him the next time I talk to him. I'm actually curious about that too.
Steve's got a question about the games. Any info on what games from the U.S. will be traveling back to Asia, courtesy of Deepwater? Are you guys ready to talk about that yet?
So nothing is set in stone yet, so I can't really talk about any of the specifically any of the companies that we're talking to right now. But I can tell you, like,
you could if you wanted.
I could. I shouldn't, but
Scoop.
So we are talking to everything from indie game companies about taking their games to Asia, and we're even talking to some of like the biggest companies in the industry about localizing their games. And there's going to be some big news about that in the next couple months. You'll be very excited. Like it'll be really exciting, and obviously we're very open to anything that fits the bill.
And you won't hear it on Board Game Gumbo Live tonight, Steve. That's right. He's trying to help. Thank you, Steve. I appreciate it. So, PJ from Board Game Gumbo Live, I've got Nolan Nasser from Deepwater Games here. We talked about Herbalism, but that's not the only game you guys have coming out in 2018. What else can we look forward to as you bring these games over from Emperor S4 in Taiwan?
So my next favorite one in the lineup is Shadows in Kyoto, which you mentioned Hanamakoji earlier. Shadows in Kyoto is the next game in the Hanamakoji series. It's going to be a trilogy of games, and they all kind of take place on the famous Hanamakoji Street, which is the cherry blossom street that's really famous for where the geisha operated and where they performed and things like that. So Shadows in Kyoto is a completely different direction from Hanamakoji, although it is still a phenomenal, tight 2-player game in a very small package. It's very Stratego-like, where you have a grid board and you have numbered units that you can only see the numbers of, and you move them. You're moving them against your opponents, and then if you cross paths with one, you attack and reveal numbers. Higher number defeats or captures the other one, etc. But there's some really great twists on it. For example, 3 different victory conditions. There are 3 different ways to win the game.
I like that.
Ways to win the game, and also the game can play in like 15 minutes. You can also add in all sorts of advanced rules that up the game to higher levels of complexity and strategy, and extend the game time a little bit. But honestly, like I love it because you get that cool feeling of Stratego where you're feeling very spy-like, where you're moving secret pieces, and your opponent has no idea what your plans are and things like that. And you're playing tactic cards and stuff like that. But you get that in not a 3-hour game like Stratego, where you just keep running into bombs and can't find your opponent's flag. No, you get that feeling in 15 to 30 minutes, and I love that.
So this is a gamer version of a filler type Stratego game with beautiful artwork.
Is an excellent way of putting it. Do you want to just write copy for us, PJ?
That could go right on the box. Look, if you want to hire somebody, Steve O'Rourke's the guy to hire. That guy will come up with a slogan for you. He is called the Name Father, and there's a reason for that. He's very good at that. So yeah, that sounds. And what's the name of that one again?
That's Shadows in Kyoto.
Shadows in Kyoto. Is that the same designer as Hanamakoji, or it's just in the same area, same universe?
Hanamakoji.
I didn't hear you. What's that?
I do believe it's the same designer as Hanamakoji. I could be wrong about that.
Steve's mentioning something, Thunder and Lightning. That's a 2-player game from the Cosmos 2-player game line. I have not played. Have you played Thunder and Lightning?
I haven't played Thunder and Lightning, but I do like Cosmos a lot, so I should definitely check that out.
Steve says, Stratego takes me back. Thunder and Lightning gives me some of that vibe, but good that there will be another game out there that you could do that. I have not played Thunder and Lightning. I know a lot of people have talked about it. I actually didn't know Steve knew that game, so that's one. If ever I can get Steve O'Rourke to come from way up north to Gumbo Con, we can maybe play Thunder and Lightning together. So that sounds like a good game that's going to be coming out. Yeah, I'm determined to get Steve a job in the industry. Somebody's going to hire that guy. So what's number 3? So that's 2. What's your second least favorite out of the 4 games that you guys come out with?
I mean, oh man, now I'm playing favorites. I see what I did here. Thanks for that, BJ. Hopefully nobody from Emperor S4 watches this. No, I'm kidding. No, so I mean, the next one is Crow's Overkill. It's just a fun party game. It's a screw your neighbor party game. A lot of take that. Basically, you are waking up in the morning and there are crows crying, and it's based on this old legend that says when a crow cries, you have to return. You have to go home, and you don't want to leave your lover. You want to spend more time with your lover, so you will kill crows all over the world to spend more time. And so you're just like. You're moving cards around. You're giving other people cards and this sort of thing, and playing these really cool. They're called shamisen cards, which are actions that you can take and to redistribute and kill off birds to try and be the last player standing.
This is a very happy, upbeat theme. It sounds.
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally.
So I got to check this one out. Do you have a copy with you behind you?
I don't actually. I don't have one behind me. But it is a lot of fun. I was expecting with a theme like oh, I have to kill birds in front of me. This doesn't sound. No, I mean it's honestly all part of the song that inspired it. The game itself is a ton of fun, and you're sitting. I've sat around. I've introduced everybody I know to it, and my family. My family gets a huge kick out of it because they're just yelling at each other, and passing birds back and forth, and everybody's involved and having a good time. And it's quick, it's fast, it's really fast paced, which is great.
What's the name again?
Crow's Overkill.
Crow's Overkill. And how many does it play?
It plays, I believe, 2 to 5.
2 to 5.
It might be 2 to 4. I'll have to. I should probably double check that.
These games, everything you've said so far, sound like great date night games, or couples night of gaming, or your office lunch type gaming.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
BJ from Board Game Gumbo live here with Nolan Nasser from Deepwater Games, and now the game that is his least favorite. What is it? No, actually, the all 4 of them are almost the same in terms of what you like. This just happens to be the 4th one that we're going to talk about. Isn't that right, Nolan?
Yeah. Definitely not my least favorite. Definitely not my least favorite. It is a little bit more niche though than the other games, and it's Hanzi.
What's that?
In Hanzi, it's called Hanzi, and Hanzi is a game about the discovery of Chinese characters, the Mandarin characters, which are literally called Hanzi. They're the letters and characters that were created during the Han Dynasty, I believe. And so that game it's like a memory and matching game where you get to you learn what characters make up what words and things like that. But it's also like just this kind of really fun memory and matching game. So that's Hanzi. That's going to be the 4th one now.
That one sounds good. Do you have any of the copies of the games with you tonight?
I do. Yeah, I've got some behind me. I've got Herbalism and
let's show that. I'm gonna go with solo here so that the audience can see this.
Okay. Oh, all right.
Yeah. So go ahead. We're ready.
So what all can they see? What all can the audience see?
Oh, they can see everything you're looking at right there.
Awesome. Yeah. So this is Herbalism and Shadows in Kyoto. As far as like these are obviously the Emperor S4's version of them. We're going to be making the boxes a slight bit bigger, and then we're also getting rid of like I mentioned the Mandarin characters and just making the text and art more pronounced. One of the big things about making like the box figures, the art gets to be more pronounced, which I really like.
So it'll be maybe the size of like a Kodama or one of those style boxes around that size.
Yeah. Yep. Actually, that's a perfect example. Is Kodama.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good size for the shelf. A great size for just throwing in your game bag. Is that a good game for the start of the night?
Yes.
Well, what we've been talking about lately. In fact, we talked about this with Stephen, and we also talked about this with the guys from Rather Dashing Games. Awesome. That filler games aren't the same that they used to be, where you just had a game that came out at the start of the night or maybe between while people are setting up. Now people are there's so much depth in them. There's so much gameplay in them that people are playing them for an hour or 2 hours. We played the game that I was talking to Steve Finn about was Fake Artist Goes to New York, which I know is an older game, but is just kind of getting to the shores here. Yep. And that's a game that a lot of times we'll say, oh, look, let's just break this out and play for a couple of minutes. And then we look and it's been an hour and a half. Yes.
Yeah, no, I mostly find myself playing a lot of filler games these days. I'm usually the person who's introducing people to board games, or I'm playing with not a lot of hardcore gamers. So I have a bag, like I have a game shelf, right, and then I have a bag that just sits out, which is pretty much all filler games, and then I also have Skull, which travels with me everywhere, which is it's my favorite game. You can play it with anybody, play it anywhere. I've never really met anybody who like just hated it. So it's games like that where I'm playing a lot of filler games.
I got to put Skull on the list because you are probably about the 8th person in the last month that I've heard talk about Skull. Oh yeah, Jamie from Secret Cabal absolutely loves that game, Skull. I've got to try this game. It's a trick taking, I guess. No,
not really. It's a bidding and bluffing game. Where honestly, it's really simple. You have four tiles you can put down. 3 of them are flowers. 1 of them is a skull. And then you eventually go around bidding on how many tiles you think you can flip over without flipping over a skull. So you don't know what tiles people are putting down. They could put down their skull, or they might have put down all flowers because they want to try and flip over the most without flipping over a skull, right? It's really simple bidding and bluffing game.
Yeah, I may be thinking of Skull King. That's a trick-taking game. That's a little different from the way you described it, Skull. Okay, I'm going to put you on the spot right here.
All right.
We talked about the game that you've enjoyed and played probably the most since Gen Con.
Yes.
We've talked about all the games you've been play testing and getting ready to produce for Deepwater Games, right?
Yep.
I'll put you on the spot. What's the last game you played, and tell me whether you liked it or not.
The last game I played.
Not anything from Deepwater, and not the one that you said earlier, Spirit Island.
So the last game I played was Five Tribes. I think Days of Wonder.
Sure. Yeah, Bruna Cathala, I think.
Yeah. And I was not expecting to enjoy it as much as I did. I thought it was really fantastic. It was very much like it was very abstract with just like a cool theme and really great art on it. But I had a lot of fun with it. I was super surprised, like the depth of play and like all the different things that you could do. It didn't feel like a lot like that kind of like cubes and points Euro type feeling that you get from some of those heavier gamer games. But it still felt really like fun and like thematic and it felt very Days of Wonder for it being such like a gamer's game.
Yeah, I got to play it. Dustin Boatman, one of the Gumbo guys, has it, and I always wanted to try it, and I got to try it with him. And it is definitely an abstract. The theme is very, very thin, but it's so brain burning. I guess there's 2 ways to play it. You could just kind of go with the flow and have fun, which is the typical Days of Wonder game. But this one was a little atypical Days of Wonder because, man, Dustin and I were planning, are trying to plan 2, 3, 4 moves ahead to score, those optimal points as much as we could. I mean, that's a good choice. So what do you say? Is it something you'd want in your collection? Is it something you want to play again? Bernard, what do you think about it?
Personally, I'm not a huge fan of abstract brain burning puzzle games. Not usually, but that one is definitely one I could see having in my collection. If I was going to have one in my collection, it would be that one for sure.
BJ from Board Game Gumbo live here. My guest Nolan Nasser talking about his love for abstract games and deep water games. No, we got a couple of people checking in. You met him tonight, Matt Rosa, my son there.
Yeah, hey Matt.
Matt's at a game night right now, and he came to borrow a couple of games, including New York Artist and another game. I don't know if you've tried Werewords, another great little party game.
But I really want to. That one in Word Slam, I keep hearing such good things about. I really want to try both of them.
I've played both of them. Werewords, fantastic. It's right up my alley. It's the question and answer type game, and everybody has fun with it. Word Slam with the right group. You're gonna like. Look, I've played it with two different groups. One group was really tired, is not that interested in word games. It didn't go over so well. The other group I played with, the guys from Baton Rouge that did that movie Must Love Board Games. Jesse and them, Jesse Sadul and them, and those guys just love those kind of games. And we rolled. We laughed so hard. We didn't even care about the score. We were picking the hardest clues and just picking on each other and having fun. Oh, look, somebody else is checking in. Raven Shutley says, hopefully I got that name right. Thank you, Raven, for watching. She says, super excited for the interview and to see what Deep Water has going on.
Oh, thanks so much, Raven.
Wow, Raven's looking forward to the games. Obviously, she's a fan of those kind of games. So thank you, Raven, for checking in. All right, Nolan, time to put you on the spot. We have a little game that we play here on Board Game Gumbo Live. Yes. We call it the Envie Game.
Yes.
What it is, it's a Cajun French word for a game that for wanting something really bad. And the way we play it here is we ask the guests to come up with a game that they really want to play. Doesn't have to be something that you own. Doesn't have to be something that you have in your group. Just something you really want to play. If we could stop the broadcast right now, and my voice is begging me to do that. If we could stop the broadcast right now, what's the game you would want to play? Don't tell us.
Yep.
Ted Alsbach actually told us the name of the game before. We had to come up with a new one. But Steve O'Rourke's checking in. He definitely wants to play Word Slam. Inca and Marcus Brand are crushing it lately. There he is. Brand loyalty.
It's an Envie game for Steven.
What's that?
It's an Envie game for Steven.
It's an Envie game for Steve O'Rourke. That's right. But notice the quote, brand loyalty for Inca and Marcus Brand. Very nicely done, Name Father. He's going to throw those in there. So, are you ready to play the Envie game, Nolan?
I am. I'm ready.
All right. So the way it works is I'm going to be asking you some questions. The audience can also ask questions. And hey, look, if they can guess it before me, they win. So,
fantastic. I was wondering if you were going to ask questions. You didn't mention it. You just said that you were going to try and guess it. And I was like, that's weird that you're not going to have any information to go.
Yeah, we're just going to start guessing. That would be funny. Now, we're going to ask you questions. And, of course, since it is my game, I get to cheat on some of those questions. We're going to make them – it's not technically a yes or no 20 questions game, but we're going to stick to around 20 questions, and I'll try to guess the game, and hopefully I can try to beat them or if you stump us. But it is more fun if the guests can make fun of me because even though it's my game, I'm terrible at it. So it's good. So first one I always ask is it competitive or a cooperative game?
It's competitive.
So it's not Spirit Island right off the bat. Yeah, let's give me a first guess.
Yep.
Is it? Oh no, this is one I have to revise this question because for most people ask, is it an American or a European designer? But you might say neither.
Yeah, right. That's true. I actually don't know.
Oh, you don't know?
I think it's American. But
is this McDonald's the board game that Alex Goldsmith keeps plugging away every week?
2 questions. You got it in 2 questions. How'd you know?
He didn't know the designer. He stumped us with McDonald's, the Happy Meal game. Something like that. I've never played. I'm not sure if I want to play, but apparently the Flip the Table likes it. So, all right. So it's not. Nolan is not sure.
I'm going to look it up though while we're playing. Is that okay?
Oh, that'd be great if you can give us the. If you can give us the answer, that would be great. How about, is it board-based or card-based?
It's board game. Board game is board-based. Burger King of Tokyo. That's amazing. The Name Father. Coming through again.
He's killing it. The Name Father, Burger King of Tokyo. Have you all signed that game yet? Because that is available if you want to. If that could be the next.
Signed it. What are we talking about? We designed it.
We designed it. Oh, yeah, we didn't get to talk about that. When you're ready, come back on the show because my understanding is that you and Ian Zhang have a little something cooking. Is that right?
Yes, we do. Yeah. We do have he and I have been working on a game design since Origins. We've been working on a couple game designs since Origins, but we've been working together since Origins.
Scoop.
It's really still very much in development. Honestly,
Okay.
there's not much exciting. It's going to change too much between now and the time that we're ready to start, going public with it. But it's very exciting. We're taking Deepwater's philosophy of packing a lot into a really small package, and that's where we're going with it. So we are definitely taking that philosophy to the extreme with this game, or trying to at least.
So it's 5 tribes and Hanamakoji smashed together.
That's exactly it.
All right, so back to the questions. To recap, we got a competitive game. He's not sure, but he's looking up to see what the designers where the designer is from. It's board based. Would you say it's a Euro game or an Ameritrash game or more of a hybrid?
I think it would be considered a hybrid.
Okay. Would you say it's thematic or abstract?
It's thematic. Yeah, thematic. It's thematic. Also, designer's American. I probably should have known this.
American designer. Well, you know what? We're going to fix that in post. We're going to cut that out for you. Okay.
All right, good. Yeah, definitely. Can we edit a lot in post? Is that?
We're not going to do anything like that. Okay, so it's an American designer. Okay. Has it come out in the last 3 years?
Kind of. Oh, that just gave it away. I feel like
no,
yes, they did.
Every guest says that. Oh, I just gave it away, and then they watch us struggle as we can't figure out the hint that they just gave. So that is a hint, though, that it's come out in the last 3 years, but I'll bet it's been republished before 3 years.
Yep.
Yep. Okay. So Steve wants to know: is it over an hour or under an hour to play? And that doesn't count as one of my questions, by the way.
Oh, it doesn't. What?
No, that's his question.
So everybody gets 20 questions?
No. When I get to the end, if we don't figure it out, that's it. We lose.
That's fair. Yep. So no, over an hour to play.
Over an hour to play. I wasn't expecting that. Okay. Yeah, because you said you like to play a lot of filler games lately. Oh, but you know what? You're always teaching. So if you had the envie to play a game, it would be something that you could just break out and play.
Exactly.
And you're practically giving this away. No. Oh, does it have miniatures in it? Minis.
Yes. Yeah.
Man, a game that has come out again. All right, to recap, it's competitive. It's an American designer. It's board-based. Considers it a hybrid. It's thematic. Came out recently, but it's a reprint. Would you say a reprint?
It is a reprint.
Reprint. And it does have minis. Oh, man, that's interesting. It is over 60 minutes. Oh, maybe. Is it, God, if you were right, Steve, you're going to kill me. Man, could it be TI-4?
Could it be? Yes, it definitely is.
Oh, my God, Steve.
I said it again, too. Like, this is everybody's envie.
No, only the second time. Second time. Yeah. Steve O'Rourke. I wasn't even close to it. Man, I didn't even get close. I was about to ask you if it was a fantasy theme, so you know I was nowhere near it. Congratulations to the name father, Steve O'Rourke. Oh, there's Jacob Wade checking in, and he says, TI-4. Hey, so tell me, what is your involvement with TI? Is that a game you've played, or is this one you finally want to play?
I've never played it. I love the concept of 4X. But I also really love thematic games, and like I'm huge. Like I grew up on 4X video games, so like that concept is super exciting to me. I've never played Twilight. I've never played any edition of Twilight Imperium, and one of the reasons why I brought it up, or why I chose that as my game tonight, is we are actually planning on playing it on January 1st in 2018. So, and we were literally, I was just discussing it with my group before this show about what we were going to do for it. So yeah, I'm really excited to finally get a play in Twilight Imperium.
So man, you are like me. I play a lot of filler games. I play a lot of gateway games, but I loved 4X type games on the computer, Yep. And so when I see them in board games, I get the envie to want to play them, and I just don't ever have a whole Saturday like we did as kids to play.
Exactly.
But then I'm always eyeing them. So one of the ones that I watched about 6 months ago, one of the guys in the game group brought Zaya, and I just was salivating. I didn't have 4 hours to play because I brought like a bunch of other games that we were going to play, but I was salivating watching them play Zaya.
It's spelled XIA.
Yep, Zaya Legends of a Drift System.
Yep. I've been salivating over that game too. What do you know?
I was never that interested in TI, but when number 4 came out, because the TI 3 kind of, I'll admit, it kind of intimidated me. There's so many different races, and the game seems so long. But TI 4 seems to have still has the races, but seems to have streamlined the gameplay. 2 of the guys from Board Game Gumbo went to BGG Con, sorry, and I couldn't make it this year, and they got a chance to play TI 4, and they came back and nonstop love for 2 weeks about how good TI 4 really is.
That's awesome.
So I am jealous. Can you post some pictures and let us know how the game goes on January 1?
Absolutely.
Man, I am excited.
Bring in the new year.
All right, so we were talking about before I let you go, we were talking about some of the games that Deepwater Games is coming out, and you mentioned to me before the broadcast. I can't remember if we said it tonight, so I want to make sure we get to talk about it. Herbalism, all 4 are coming out. There's something special going on for Herbalism in March of 2018 or February of 2018, isn't that right?
Actually, towards the end of January, we are going to be launching a Kickstarter for Herbalism. We're obviously the deal is done for these games. They're coming to the US, but we're launching a Kickstarter to kind of just help fund that production of them, and also help. We're making updates to these, and then we're also going to be updating, changing, and improving the American versions of future titles that we sign. So this Kickstarter is going to kind of kickstart us into the next phase of the company and everything like that. So
tell me about the Kickstarter itself. What do you guys have special planned for it? Anything that you can tell about now, or is it still in the works?
So, I mean, we've got a couple, we've got some cool add-ons and promos lined up and things like that. But mainly, it's just going to be the first way to get your hands on these games. Like Kickstarter is going to get them before retail, before anything like that. So we will, we're going to be. We're going to have all 4 of the games available on the Kickstarter as add-ons, but mainly focusing on Herbalism. So potentially, I should say potentially, it's not set in stone at all for me.
There's a chance, though, that you can get some of the other games as an add-on and get them shipped out to your house. Maybe save some shipping and pick up a bunch of great games all at the same time.
Exactly, yeah.
And if they want to pick out a certain one after Herbalism, you're not making any commitments to any one particular game, right? All 4.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, absolutely.
Steve O'Rourke says, enjoy the new game, TI4, and the new year.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right, board gamers, that's it for another episode of Gumbo Live, number 25. Nolan, this was awesome, man. I really enjoyed having you on the program, and I was excited when I saw that Deepwater Games was coming out. And here's the reason. I like passionate people, especially in this industry, and I don't know very many people that are more passionate about board games and the board game community than Nolan Nasser. No, I mean that. I really mean that sincerely. You were always helpful on social media. You befriended me right away when we started hitting together on Twitter. How can people reach you and get to know Nolan Nasser's art or Deepwater Games?
Yeah, so I mean, find me on Twitter at Nolan Nasser, or find me on Facebook on Nolan Nasser. I will be talking nonstop about Deepwater. You can also find Deepwater on Twitter at Deepwater_games. You can find Deepwater on Facebook at Deepwater Games. You can hit our website. It's Deepwater Gaming. Follow any of those things. You'll be following me, and you'll see content from both of us, from both the company and from myself, I'm sure.
And if they like, not necessarily this art, but if they like the Nolan Nasser art, there's a way that I've seen people can actually buy mouse pads and prints of what you do, right? How do they do that?
So I sell all of my work online. If you go to nolannasser.com, I have a store up. You can purchase mouse pads, play mats, and all sorts of stuff. And I actually have a sale going on right now through December 25th. It's 25% off. So if you're in the market for some good gifts still, actually I've got just about a day left before I can ship them out to you. So
can you hand deliver them to Steve O'Rourke up there in New York?
I mean, I can't. I'm not going to make it to New York. But contrary to popular belief, the North is not all just like one jumbled mess that's emancipated from the South.
Well, you get east of Mississippi and north of Tennessee, and to me it's just one big block of people, right? I mean,
it might as well be. It might as well be.
Before I let you go, that reminds me, when people were talking about PAX Unplugged, and some of the guys from Punchboard Media were talking about driving in from New York City, and I'm sitting there going, wait, New York City to Philadelphia? Isn't that like, if I was going from Baton Rouge to El Paso, that's like, 20 hours, 24 hours. And these guys are 18 hours. These guys are talking about, we're going to make a 2-hour drive over to Philadelphia. It just, It blows my mind to think
Exactly.
of two major cities that close together.
Yeah. New England's weird, man. It's all a jumbled mess of states.
It's all Yankee Dome. Hey, so I want to thank Nolan Nasser for coming in. Make sure to like our Facebook page, facebook.com/BoardGameGumbo. It helps us spread the word about people like Nolan Nasser, people that give back to the community and get people to know about the upcoming guests and shows. I want to thank Nolan Nasser for coming in. It was an awesome time. I am BJ from Board Game Gumbo. And Nolan, until next time, laissez le bon temps rouler.
Thank you so much.
All right, Nolan, good luck with the Kickstarter, man. We will check you later.
Thank you.